What's going on, Omnibuddies? Mitch here, and today we are looking at another Omnibuddy overview. What are we looking at? We are looking at Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird's latest comic, The Last Ronin. All right, so before we lay this book down and get a good look at the art and talk about the story and do all that, just a quick talk about it. This book is fresh off the press. It's been coming out for, it seems like, I think 2 years now. It's 5 issues. A lot of them are a little bit extra long, I think like 48 or something like that, 48 pages, so they're not the normal like 32, 33, 34 pages in there. So it's a little bit longer for 5-issue collection, but so it took a little bit longer to come out too, and I believe that issue number 5 took a very long time to come out, but this has been in the works for years and years and years. And if you read the afterword at the end, they talk about how the idea started a very long time ago, like back in the 80s when the comic was just kind of getting going. They had this idea for, you know, what happens 30 years or so after, you know, all the comics happen and, you know, the traditional TMNT stories happen. What happens when you have one turtle left and he's the last Ronin? So super cool. Yeah, I was very excited to read this. It was very hard to avoid spoilers on the internet. I did get spoiled who was the last Ronin, which really does suck. It was the one thing I was trying to avoid, and someone's like, well, it's been coming out for years. I'm like, dude, the issue number 5 isn't even out yet. But the good news is you don't actually, you don't wait too long to find out who the last Ronin is. They get to it pretty quickly, actually, which is kind of surprising. I thought it would be like this big reveal near the end, but they just hit it, and it's actually done very well where they use that. So it's used throughout the story, which is very cool. So if you know who the last Ronin is, but you haven't read it yet, fear not. That happened to me, and it was still an incredible ride. All right, enough of me blathering about this. Let's take a look at this and see why it's so good. All right, so here we have The Last Ronin Deluxe oversized hardcover. This is the same trim size as the other IDW Deluxe hardcovers, so it's gonna look great on the shelf next to all of them. Even though the spine is a little bit different, you know what? It's still gonna look great. This is by Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird. It's got a couple different artists in it. It starts off with a great introduction by Robert Rodriguez, who's a filmmaker in Austin, talking about, you know, the lore and the legacy and his experience with TMNT and The Last Ronin. Really great stuff. I try and avoid introductions and forwards in books because sometimes you get a little bit of spoilers in there. So fair warning if you just want to go in blind and then come back and read the introductions. And then it just jumps right into the deep end, pun intended, I guess, with the first page of Last Ronin, and you're jumping right into New York City in the future. I believe it takes place about 30 years in the future, and you have a turtle. I won't say who in this review, so don't worry about that. You have a turtle trying to break into a compound in New York City, and you immediately get hit with, okay, this is pretty futuristic, still really dark and gritty, you know, so it's kind of got that old school original TMNT vibe to it, but obviously in color. This one, they very much do kill people and they very much do show gore, so it's not a necessarily a young kid friendly story. And throughout the action, you're hearing dialogue back and forth between him and his brothers, and you're not sure necessarily who's who. I mean, you can kind of get a feel by how they're talking and what they're saying and the tones of their voices through the writing, which is very cool. You can start to kind of piece together who is the turtle. And then you almost immediately meet the latest bad guy, which I guess this is sort of minor spoiler is the grandson of the Shredder. This is Oroku Hiroto. The panel layout's pretty straightforward. They don't do a ton of really interesting, necessarily, work with the panels and how it lays out, but it works really well with the action because there's a ton of action in this, like I said, so following the action through the panels is relatively simple, which is good because it might be pretty difficult to follow along if the panels were doing something a little bit crazier. With the panels, let's talk a little bit more about the art style. The art style is very traditional IDW TMNT in how it looks. Kind of got that, you know, IDW flavor to it. A little bit more blood than I'm used to in guts and gore in a TMNT, so it's got that very original OG TMNT vibe to it with all the violence. I do have to draw attention to the colors in this book are absolutely phenomenal by Luis Antonio Delgado. Really great stuff. But when they jump back into past memories and dreams and things like that, it goes kind of that glossy, very light and interesting tones. When remembering way back, it definitely jumps to that Kevin Eastman original TMNT vibe where it is very thick lines, really no color. So it's kind of that black and white or sepia tone. What I do appreciate is they show you how each character met their end and they explore each one and tell the backstory of that. So you're never left wondering, which is very nice. And I'm very happy that they did that where you're not left wondering how they died. I tore through this book. It took me a few hours and I rarely can sit down and read for a few hours, but I stayed up way too late reading this because it was a phenomenal story that was beautifully told, beautifully drawn and colored, and I gotta say, they pulled it off really well. The extras in this book are great. There's an awesome afterwards from Kevin Eastman who goes into telling the story behind the story of when the story came about and when they brought it back and decided that now was the time to do it. And then there's a very cool cover art gallery showing all the different covers that came out with this, and I'm not going to show all of them because I feel like some of the covers are sort of spoilery, but again, once you read probably, I believe, the first issue, you shouldn't have to worry too much about spoilers in the end. All right, so I hope that helped sell you on this book, because if you haven't been sold on this book yet, I don't know what else to say that's gonna get you to read it. If you love TMNT, this is a story that I've at least thought about for years and years and years. What happens when all the turtles die, or you know, all but one of the turtles die, and the family's all broken up, and you know, it's in the future. What is it gonna be like then? Because the whole point of TMNT is they're a family and they're a clan, and what happens when that clan really is no more? It's at the end. And this explores all that, and it explores it and dives deep into it, and it does it beautifully, not just in art but really in the storytelling. It is amazing. Like, you know, when they flip to the old memories, and it's in that old school, very Eastman traditional art style of his for TMNT, and then it jumps to the new kind of IDW style for the current style. So cool. Absolutely loved it. My favorite TMNT artist is Mateus Santalocco. I think I'm saying his name right. His stuff is outstanding, and at points I had to kind of double take and see, wait, is he the artist on there? But no, not the artist, but very much in that style, kind of more a little bit more rough style with it. Like, it's almost like a decomposition of his style almost, where it's, you know, older, it's kind of breaking down almost, which very much fits the story for me. Anyways, that's it. If you guys are interested at all in the story, make sure to hit up the channel sponsor, Organic Price Books. Use code Omnibuddy for $2 off every order. If you want 5% off your entire order, you can order 3 books at once, use code Omnibuddy, ship it together, and get all those books shipped together. So be careful if you're pre-ordering, because you're gonna have to wait a very long time for that last book to come out. But if it's all in stock, use that code, get 5% off, or Omnibuddy saves you $2. Anyways, it supports the channel, supports a great small business that's growing super fast and taking the comic book distribution, warehouse sales businesses by storm, because JP and David over at OPB are doing amazing stuff over there. Great shipping, amazing communication, just amazing prices, especially if you use those codes, and use any creator's codes. If you want to support another creator, go ahead, just support a creator, support that business. Awesome stuff. Anyways, that's it. I hope you liked this. I hope it helped. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, do all those things, but of course comment. What is your absolute favorite TMNT story? This was very close to being my favorite TMNT story. My absolute favorite is, again, Matteo Santaloco, TMNT Secret History of the Foot Clan. Absolutely love that book. And if you're interested in it and that story, I have a video of it, and you can hit it up and see an overview of it there where I talk all about it. I look at the work print edition. That one is not really in print anymore. It's kind of hard to find, but there are a few other prints of that story in stock in other places like Amazon and things. But anyways, that one is my absolute favorite. And what's cool is these two, they don't take place in, I mean, they're within, this one's really not in continuity, because it's, you know, almost an Elseworlds super far out story. So it's not super connected to all the other stuff, other than like Karai and all the characters are in there. A bunch of the characters are in there, not all. Secret History of the Foot Clan is very much tied into the IDW stuff. So that one is tied in with all IDW, and it's actually within the deluxe editions back here that I have. And so I actually double dipped on it buying the work print. Anyways, so what is your absolute favorite TMNT story? Let me know in the comments. Let me know why. Is it current IDW? Was it Mirage? What was it? Let me know in the comments. Love talking with you all. That's it. Take care. Stay cool.